Now, normally I wouldn't be using this really pretty pink camo. I have this because I made a survival bracelet for my 2-year-old granddaughter. Hey YouTube, welcome back for another Wilderness Wednesday. This week I'm going to teach you a knot that I will very often use. It's not one of the 3 basic knots that we teach with Valiant Outfitters, but it is one that's very handy whether you're in a survival situation or you're camping, particularly if you're using a tarp. This is my DD Hammocks 3x3, my favorite tarp, and I'll use this for a whole bunch of different applications, whether it's out with a hammock or for survival or if I'm tarp camping. I have it laid out right now in an A-frame, just a basic A-frame. It's kind of flying. If I were setting this up for my hammock, I'd set it up quite a bit higher. If I really need to stay out of inclement weather, I'd get it down quite a bit lower. All I did was I ran my ridge line, and here at this end I have an event hitch. Down at that end, I've got my taut line hitch, and then I've just tied it out at the 4 corners. And this is fine if I just need to get out of the sun, I need a little bit of shade, I want some coolness, or it's a very light rain. But if it's really inclement weather or I'm going to get some strong high winds, I'm going to want to take care of this gapping, this bunching, because you can see it's not dressed very well. It's sagging a little bit here, and that can start to collect quite a bit of water when it rains. So this is a knot I use to tighten along the ridge line. This is called the Prusik Knot. Sometimes it's called a Prusik Knot. And the way it works is it wraps around your ridge line, and when it's pulled laterally, it locks into that ridge line and it won't slide back and forth. But if it's hanging up and down, it'll slide back and forth easily. I have a Prusik knot tied on here already. There's one down at that end. I've run my Prusik knot through, and I pull it tight this way. And you can see how it tightens up there, and it won't come back. I can take this and I can pull this direction. It's not going to move. But if I pull it down straight so it's not lateral anymore, it slides right back in. I'm going to bring the camera over for a close-up and show you how to tie it and how to apply it. Here we are for a close-up shot of our ridge line and how to tie the Prusik knot. When I'm making mine, I make sure that they're at least as long as from my pinky to the end of my thumb. This one is a little bit longer. Of course, I'm going to want my paracord to be twice as long because I'm going to come back and I'm going to put a bite and bring it back, and it's going to make a loop when I make an overhand knot with both ends. Now you'll notice that this paracord I'm using here is thinner than my ridge line. For a Prusik to work properly, the Prusik needs to be made from twine or cordage that's a thinner diameter than for the ridge line. You can use the same and it will work, but it's much more effective if you have it smaller. This is 550 paracord. Here I have 275, and I always keep 275 with me, and I use that for a lot of different applications, so it's good to have. Now normally I wouldn't be using this really pretty pink camo. I have this because I made a survival bracelet for my 2-year-old granddaughter to match a pink hat that I made for her. But I'm using this color right now because it's easier to see here on the video. So I've made that loop, and then to tie the Prusik, I want to put it around that ridge line, and I'm going to separate it and bring that tied end through and around. And I'm going to do that again. And I'm working to make sure that each loop is further inside. And I'm going to do that 3 times. So I've done 1 and 2. Here's my 3rd one. And I'm going to bring it down. Make sure to dress it so all of those loops go from inside to outside from that one loop that came down. And there's your Prusik knot. So you can see when it's like this, it slides back and forth very easily, as long as the tension is down. But the second I pull it laterally, it's going to lock in place and not slide. So the way I'm going to apply this is I have my Prusik knot here, I have my toggle, here's my tie out point for my tarp. Let's put the knotted end of my Prusik knot through there. I'm going to get a toggle through it, and I'm going to pull it and pull it nice and tight. And you can see there that it's nice and tight all the way across. And if I pull on this, it's locked in. But if I want to loosen it, I just pull down on that a little bit, and I can loosen it and take my toggle out. One more time, beginning to end. Remember, I want this to be at least twice as long, my full length. I want it to be at least twice as long as from my pinky to my thumb. And that's a good length. Double it over to make that bite. I'm going to make overhand knot to make an overhand loop. Pull that tight so I have my overhand loop here. Lay my cordage over top to make my Prusik knot. I'm going to come around once and again, always making sure that it progresses towards the inside of the knot. Then a third time. I may need to dress it out. That one came out pretty well right there off of the front. And it locks in well. Take the knotted end of my loop, pass it through my point of my tarp. Here's my toggle. Slide that through, pull it taut. And now it's locked in. The Prusik knot, and it's now made this nice and tight all the way from my vink hitch over here, taut line hitch over there, ridge line. My Prusik knot is a thinner diameter to my ridge line. So there's a handy little knot for you to use, the Prusik knot, whatever you call it. It was originally intended for mountain and rock climbing. You'd have a rope up vertically, and then you tied that Prusik around it, and the loop would hang. When you put your foot or your hand inside of that loop, it would pull it tight, and then you can cinch it up and do another one. But I use it for my tarps. Hammock camping, tarp camping, whatever I'm going to do gets that ridge line nice and tight. This weekend, get outside, use it, get a tarp up. Whatever you do, get outside, because it's impossible to be outside and in a bad mood at the same time. I'm Joe Bassett. Thanks for joining me for another Wilderness Wednesday. We'll see you later.